Hello and welcome to Wavelength's Roundtable on Alumni Data 101. We are going to be keeping this pretty brief, sharing out the slides that have a lot of material as well as some other handouts after this call. So what we're really going to focus on is four key areas. One is what to be tracking, the next being how to keep it up to date year over year. We're also going to be covering a lot of common errors that we at Wavelength see when we're supporting our clients. And lastly, we'll go into some quick personalization tactics on how to use the data once it's captured in a meaningful way. Now, this is high level. We could be talking data day in, day out because there's so much that you could be tracking, but we're going to really focus on trying to establish how you can improve your data over time. Because of this, we know you are all entering at different stages. So we actually have a self-assessment. It goes beyond data itself. It does go into engagement and internal resources. But what we really want you to do is get an understanding of what's your baseline today, where do you want to be growing, and what can those step-through processes be. So we'll send out this self-assessment alongside this video, but bottom line, what you'll be seeing here is us trying to identify what can you track, how should you do it, how to use it meaningfully, and what can be changed, and what those nuances are. Again, go back to what is your current state of the state, and what do you want to prioritize in making those changes come the end of the school year, looking into next year. So in terms of the types of data you can track, there's a lot that can be tracked. Here are just a few of them. You've got the contactable information, email, phone, address. You then have more of the personal details, an individual's career, their education, what school activities they participated at your institution. Then you can go into the familial relationships, their donor history, maybe their giving capacity. When I say all of these are actual categories because there are so many additional details that you should be thinking about when it comes to someone's address. It's not just trying to capture this in one open field form. You want to be able to make sure you're gathering all of the data in a way that can easily fit into your CRM fields. So when you have a form or you have someone trying to give you information or just writing things out, you have to really think about how do you reduce the manual effort for your reporting and how do you get this data reported correctly? Because for career, you can just have a catch-all of this person works in finance, but what would be a lot more helpful in the long run is this person is the CFO at this company in this industry. And that way you can be using it for more meaningful outreach, be it for donations, be it for industry days, career days, you name it. So that means that you want to be capturing this data into different fields. So when I'm going back to the form as the best example, if you are trying to get an update contact form, don't just say, what's your career? You want to split out all of the subtypes of what you're actually asking for, because how are you going to fit that back into your database? You want the fields to be pretty articulated. Otherwise, you're going to have these generic catch-alls and you're not going to be able to export everything very easily to your mailers. If you are not capturing line 1, line 2, city, state, country, zip for your address, the amount of manual effort it's going to take to actually capture a mailing in the future takes a lot longer. So think about those data steps a little earlier. So when you're actually capturing it, when you're recording it, that it's going to the right places. And this might take some time getting to know whatever database you're using or what you're setting up, even if it's on a spreadsheet, but really be careful on what type of fields you're tracking here. On top of that, you want to think how to keep that data up to date. One is data is going to shift year over year. So how are you getting that confirmation over time? The next is really syncing the data that you're receiving throughout the year. There are a lot of touch points you're having with alumni. You might get a reply from a newsletter saying, hey, can you update my email to this? Or they're submitting a donation and they're using a different mailing address than they did before. Or be it an RSVP, whatever it might be, the data syncing is key. That if it's not going on during a formal confirm your data initiative, how are you capturing those data changes and recording it accordingly? That gets us to that clear data reporting structure. How are you getting that data back into your database? Do you have a database manager? Do you have clear roles and responsibilities of if you receive information, who's in charge of making those updates? You want to be mindful because you've got so many things on your plate. This is really easy to fall off and be forgotten about, but it makes such a difference to your alumni if you actually have updated contact information and updated personal information. You then have a lot to do with the young alumni, like that pre-graduation stage. There's a lot of opportunity here, and we'll step into that in a second. I already talked a little bit about donation data. And then there's this ability from crowdsourcing, hearing from classmates and volunteers around different events, be it reunions or otherwise. There's a lot of data that peers know of each other, and you want to give them the reason behind helping you update data. So when it comes to confirming your data, we have the ability, Wavelength has this, a bunch of email services might be able to provide this, mail merge, where you can actually ask people to confirm the information you have on file. We've found that if they see visually missing or incorrect data, they're more likely to take action. I've said this over and over again in our roundtables, but what you want to do is provide the value add of the so what? Why am I taking this action? What you can also do in something like this is provide family data. So you can have parents confirm the information of their children. That's really useful, especially in that young alumni space. When it comes to data syncing, you want to think through all those touch points. As I mentioned, is someone replying to a newsletter or an email you sent saying, please update to this, events, donations, all of these touch points, you're going to have these interactions. So make sure you have a way in order to record those brief interactions and then actually intentionally make those updates within the CRM. And trust me, you are not the only one who are having these touch points with alumni. So you want to make sure that when you're having these touch points or other people from your institution is that they also have a reporting structure that they know to either be sending to you, to your database manager, to some form, whatever it might be. There's an easy way for this data to be recaptured somewhere. On top of that data syncing, what you want to have is clear roles and responsibilities, because if you have multiple people making edits to the same database, you need to make sure that the reporting structure is very simple and also clear and concise. When you have a class year location, is someone putting in 09 or 2009 or question mark? We've seen all of the above, and you want to have things be very clear cut. So there should be some basic behaviors that as an administration, as a broader team, everyone knows the reporting structure. Otherwise, you're going to start having some complicated data that you have to go line by line to make sure it's all accurate. So really make sure you've got those database roles figured out, the reporting structure figured out. And if you don't have a specific database for alumni, that's okay. Even a spreadsheet is better than nothing, but you need to know where the most up-to-date information is housed. Beyond data syncing, as I mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity in the young alumni space. Prior to graduation, you can be gathering personal emails, really hunting those down while people are still in the hallway. On top of that, you want to get the information of where they'll be attending college or heading off to whatever their next initiative is. With that in mind, there are other faculty and staff that has this information for you. So going to the college guidance counselors, the senior deans, whoever it might be, have that relationship established, so you are actually importing that data to these young alumni so that it's captured and they're not having to tell you, because this is information that you've captured elsewhere. It's trackable. Save that to people's profiles. On top of that, your parents of young alumni have always had a stronger relationship communicating with you than alumni themselves, especially to start. So CCing them into communications with the young alumni, bringing them in. We had a full roundtable of where parents can fit into this at a larger scale. I can share at that roundtable if people are interested. But make sure that they can also be confirming the data of their children, because they want their child to stay connected. They want to continue to have them receive resources from you as an institution. So as long as you're providing a value add, they will be able to provide you updated data. Beyond that, volunteer and classmates, as I mentioned, there's a lot around the peers who are staying in touch with each other outside of the school itself. So if you can empower peers who are volunteers, who are staying in touch with their classmates, be it class officers, or whether they're the ones who are trying to corral people to head to reunions, whomever it might be, if they see missing data, crowdsourcing is definitely a possibility here. Or they can try and encourage others to go outside of you having the data of some of these classmates. And the classmates, once they finally attend or engage with the school, that's when you can receive that updated data. Some common data errors that we do see are, we're going to walk through all of these, but again, every bullet you see here is not just a unique situation with a single institution. We work with so many different schools, and I would say majority have at least 2 or 3 issues of what you see here, and it's everywhere from very small institution to full university that have seen these challenges. So you're not alone, but we're going to just try and catch these before it gets too detrimental for data management. One are those open field text forms I've mentioned before. If you are just doing a supply us with updated contact information and you're having a free form where people are able to say, hey, just moved to this address, and someone else gives you the exact address with just commas, that it cannot be imported into your CRM. You need to be able to split those lines out to the exact types of fields that you want. Otherwise, you or someone else is having to one at a time go into each submission and make those changes. So try and catch that before the form is even sent out. Old lists are really challenging to try and hunt down and see who's got them and what's being shared out. A lot of times you're going to export a list, you're going to share it out, and they're going to refer back to that list. Whoever requested it, that's their go-to list rather than trying to get an updated list. So you want to have ownership of where are those old lists? Are people updating those old lists and not telling you or updating the CRM correctly? Where is that old data going? Who's got it? This is an especially challenging spot with the volunteers. So we actually in our portal have a way that volunteers can see the data, can't export it, and depending on what level of access you give them, they could email off of our portal, but you're not ever having them have a spreadsheet where they can go off and do whatever they please with it, because that's the biggest danger is as soon as you send a spreadsheet, you lose control of where those old lists are and what people are doing with it. There's oftentimes that no clear reporting approach. Who's reporting on what information, where it's getting lost, those touch points with alumni, even if it's just a conversation. When's the last time someone spoke with so-and-so? It's really helpful to capture all of that so that when someone speaks to you as an individual, they think they're talking with the school. They're going to assume that the school at large is going to know what they've talked about already. So you want to be fully prepared to have the correct reporting approach. That's where a notes field and a catch-all place can be helpful. So depending on which CRM you're using, there can be engagement points tracked. If not, a catch-all of just simple text like so-and-so has a daughter who could become a student in 2027. Different types of contact points and data points that can't be captured is essential because it's not going to be possible to have every field under every single circumstance. That said, you want clearly defined labels and data fields. You want to know that there are some databases that are extra complex where they're going to have a household address and a personal address. Where should the mailing address go of the individual? You need to make those decisions so that everything is in the same field so it's clearly able to be reported on, be used accordingly when you take it off of the CRM. Former name tracking. This is essential around maiden names, around first name changes, gender changes, whatever it might be. You need to be able to make sure that if someone requests a name change, that you are aware of what the former name was, as well as what name they want to go by. Whatever that first, last, whatever name it is, you want to be making sure those changes are established and tracked in the appropriate way. Handwriting interpretation, also a challenge. If you are at an event or someone's writing down their information, it's really hard. Everyone's handwriting is different. Their scribbles, you never know. I always recommend when it comes to handwriting, if you are receiving handwriting input, you should within the next day or two reach out using the email address or the phone number that they supply to ensure the accuracy. So, hi, so-and-so, it was great seeing you at this event. Really hope you can join us at a future one. That confirms that the email that you input and interpreted from the handwriting is actually accurate. If you get a bounce back, that's the time where you can quickly adjust to say, maybe this L is actually an I, whatever it is. The sooner you do it around the handwriting, the easier it is to interpret. Otherwise, you're going to lose that piece of paper. Losing track of your alumni and discounting them as lost or do not contact. This is a real key one. It's actually going to take a full nother page that I want to really focus on. You could be potentially missing dollars in donations simply because you've lost track of alumni, not because they don't want to be in communication with you. What you have to think about with your donor pool is not actually your entire alumni base. It's only your contactable alumni base. And contactable does not mean that everyone else has opted to not be contacted. It means that this is the group of people that you actually have up-to-date information on. I was talking with a university where they started to do a targeted athletic outreach, and they had over $1 million worth of funds received by people who have never donated to the school before, simply because they used personal outreach to people who had personal connections with sports. So there's complete money on the table that would have never been fundraised if they weren't targeted with that personal interaction. There is a lot of potential around finding lost contact information. And we at Wavelength do this with nearly, I would say it's 95% of our clients choose to do data enrichment if they launch with our portal. We also just do one-off data enrichment for schools as well. We have the ability to find contactable information on your alumni, and it can go in two approaches. One is if you give us the names of the alumni, we're actually able to say John Smith from the class year of 1981 who attended this school in this state. Let's pull contactable resume level information, including career, education, social profiles, you name it. The alternative too is we can say, hey, what resume level profiles do we have that have associated themselves with attending this school? This goes well beyond colleges. We have tested this against K-12 schools, and this is actually really successful as well, where we can build out a full query where we can say they attended this school. We want only those profiles that have resume level, and that means that it's contactable information, it's career data, it's education fields. It's a lot more robust than just a simple email on file, and we're able to pull that list of, hey, here's everyone who's associated themselves with having attended your school. It's not just being affiliated with your school. It's truly that they were an alum and graduated from your institution. So when we're thinking about personalization tactics, one thing you want to think about is really what you can do with all of this data. It takes time to track it. It takes time to update it. So what? How do you use this meaningfully? I'm being very, very high level here. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but let's just start from a few different ideas. One is when you're speaking with alums, you know what you're talking about with them regarding specific topics. Who else has been talking to them? As I said this earlier on in this call, when you have the ability to check back of what other conversations have been held with this alum, what other details do we know about them? That personal approach to be able to say, hey, how is your daughter doing at college playing lacrosse? That level of detail shows that you're seeing them as an individual, not just a number on a page of they're an alum of our school. You can also know where someone works in their education and use that in terms of asks, whether it's volunteering, speaking, alumni spotlights, you name it. There's a lot of ways to loop in that additional information of their career and education to be able to provide insights and advice to current students, to young alumni, you name it. Also, if you have career information, including job title and company name or just the industry, there are assumptions you can make around donor capability. So you can actually be more explicit with your asks as you start to learn about where people are. There's a lot of data out there about what the average salary is for people in this industry, within this state, with this job title. That's going to help you in terms of finding potential major donors versus just general giving capability. Also, you can start to target your content, be it newsletters and what have you, depending on what people have done as school activities at your institution. So when you're thinking about where they went off, what sports they were a part of, having coaches send out explicit updates around the sports teams, to you have a musical coming up, inviting those who are part of the musical to come back or share with them how this year's musical or what the musical is. That personalized, the affinities people have with your school go well beyond just I attended XYZ institution. It's I was part of this club. And that affinity gives them that much more connection with your school and gives them those core memories that helps with future donations, that helps with wanting them to get more engaged with open rates and all of that. On top of that, the familial relationships, knowing who's the parents, the siblings who also attended, maybe the children who are attending or will be attending, or are alums themselves. All of those details just add for extra personalization and has the individual feel seen. On top of that, If you hear an update like, hey, how's your brother doing? Oh, he recently had a baby. Those details, especially if that brother is also an alum of the school, you all of a sudden have additional information that you can be sending out a congratulatory message to the brother, even though they told you nothing. So there's a lot of opportunity. You want to take all of that in, have easy reporting back into the CRM, and easy actionable steps to celebrate or to acknowledge other details of someone's life stages. So this was super high level. I know I was brief on all of this, but we quickly covered what to be tracking, how to keep it up to date, common errors, and some personalization tactics. What we did not cover and what we will cover in some future calls and we have in some other roundtables is things like engagement tracking, event attendance, volunteer rates. These all stem from you have to have a baseline of alumni data, just like per profile, to then be able to have better engagement tracking. Because if you don't have contactable emails, or rather, don't have a contactable alumni, then from an engagement standpoint, your engagement numbers are going to just be really low. And from an engagement standpoint, too, are you tracking, are your percentages off of the entire alumni list, or is it off of the number of people you could contact? I haven't even talked about social media, how you could have a group of alumni that you might not have, a phone number or an address on, but maybe they're following you on socials. There's so many different other data points here, but I just want to acknowledge this is just a whole nother section, another can of worms that we will open at a later date. Again, we're going to be sharing out this worksheet just so you can get a baseline. We're happy to walk through it with you. Wavelength, we offer just like a free consultation on really what the next steps should be. But bottom line, what you want to focus on is data, data, data. Set yourself some baselines, understand where you're starting from, what your priorities are, and clearly have a reporting structure. And try and get ahead of it before you're stuck behind some bad data, because as soon as you start having bad data practices, it's hard to really get out from under trying to recover from that. So if anyone has questions, we're here to help. But thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.